I wasn't looking for lies. I was looking for our cat. But what I found in my wife's closet wasn't fur or whiskers, it was a lockbox. And inside that box? The truth that tore my family apart. I wasn't looking for secrets, I was looking for our missing cat. That's what still haunts me. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't suspicious. I was crawling on my hands and knees behind piles of shoes and storage bins in Claire's closet, shaking a bag of treats and whispering for Muffin. What I found instead changed my life forever. It was supposed to be a normal Saturday morning. Claire was out for her usual yoga class and I was home alone with our 12-year-old son, Jamie, trying to coax our cat out of hiding. Muffin had a habit of burrowing into tight spaces when it stormed, and the night before had been a thunderclap symphony. Jamie had been worried sick, made me promise we'd find her before dinner. That's how I ended up in Claire's closet. She always kept it neat, so it wasn't hard to move things around without making it obvious. I didn't even realize my hand had brushed the lockbox until I heard the soft click. The sound stopped me cold. It wasn't like anything I recognized, definitely not one of Jamie's toys or some forgotten gift. I pulled it out. It was sleek, heavy for its size, and gunmetal gray with a tiny biometric scanner on the front. The kind of lockbox you buy when you want to hide something not just from burglars, but from your own family. I knew Claire had it together more than me, if I'm honest, but secrets? That wasn't her style. Or so I thought. Then it clicked again. I froze. I hadn't even meant to press the scanner, but apparently it recognized my fingerprint. The lid lifted an inch. My stomach flipped. Inside was a burner phone, black, cheap, like something you'd see in a spy movie. I powered it on without thinking, and a stream of texts lit up the screen. 47 unread messages. Every single one to a contact named Dr. Epps. The last one, just 4 days ago, read, Room 807 again. Usual time. Bring her photo. I set the phone down and kept digging. Hotel keycards, 4 of them, marked with the names of cities I had paid for her to visit for conferences. San Diego, Portland, Denver, and Miami. I had renovated our bathroom while she was gone on one of those trips. She sent me a selfie in a robe with a mimosa in hand, thanking me for holding down the fort. That photo had been my phone wallpaper for 6 months. Then I saw the sonogram, tucked into an envelope with no label, just dates. The grainy black and white image showed a fetus no bigger than a peanut. Dated 3 weeks ago. My hands started to shake. Our son was born 12 years ago. I got a vasectomy 5 years later. It wasn't a secret. Claire had held my hand in the doctor's office. She brought me ice packs and made dumb jokes about retirement. I just sat there, staring into that little box that felt like it held the pieces of some other man's life. Not mine. Certainly not ours. I didn't say anything that night. Couldn't. I put the box back exactly where I found it. I told Jamie we'd keep looking for Muffin tomorrow. I laid in bed next to Claire, who smelled like eucalyptus and mint, and I couldn't sleep. I thought maybe there was a good explanation. But in my gut, I knew. Something was about to come apart. I didn't go to war right away. I wish I could say I confronted her that night, that I stormed into the kitchen and demanded the truth. But I didn't. I went quiet. Real quiet. The kind of quiet where you start taking notes. Where every smile feels like a weapon and every I love you sounds like it's echoing off a canyon of lies. I'd been through stress before, hell, I was hospitalized last year for ulcers, remember? But this was different. This was the kind of tension that gets into your bones, that makes you forget to eat, that keeps you staring at your ceiling fan until the sun comes up. So I went to work, not at my job, but on her. First thing I did was order a voice-activated recorder online. Small enough to hide under the driver's seat of her car. Took me all of 10 minutes to plant it the next day while she was inside getting her water bottle and yoga mat. It had a decent battery life and a long range. I let it run for a week before I listened. I remember exactly where I was when I hit play, parked in the back of a CVS lot, pretending to be on a lunch break. I had a coffee in one hand and my entire world unraveling in the other. It didn't take long. There was laughter. Her laughter. God, it had been a while since I heard it like that. Not the polite laugh she gave Jamie's jokes or the tired chuckle she gave me when I tried flirting. This was deep, belly-shaking, flirtatious laughter. Then a man's voice. Familiar. Too familiar. I don't know how he still hasn't figured it out. And then her reply, he doesn't want to. That's the thing. He's too good. He always wants to believe the best in people. She wasn't wrong. That was probably my fatal flaw. My hands were shaking. I rewound it just to hear it again. Just to prove it wasn't a dream or some misunderstanding. He called her baby. Said something about how she glowed different now. I shut it off. Next step, GPS tracker. I picked a slim one that could fit inside her purse without making a sound. Slid it into the lining one evening while she was in the shower. A few days later, I watched the map on my phone light up. She wasn't at the spa. She wasn't even across town. She was at a condo downtown. Address looked familiar. It hit me like a punch. It was the same building I had helped my contractor flip last year. I picked out tile for that place. I painted those damn cabinets. I'd recommended him for the job. Vouched for him when Claire said he seemed too casual for something that expensive. Mark. His name was Mark. Uncle Mark to Jamie. He came to Jamie's birthday party 2 years ago. Gave him a drone. Even asked if I needed help putting it together. I zoomed in on the GPS location. Unit 302. I remembered that one. Big windows. Balcony view. She was there. For 3 hours. When she came home later that night, hair damp from a spa steam, I just nodded as she kissed me on the cheek. "How was your day?" she asked. "Quiet," I said. "Just thinking." She smiled and called me deep, like it was some adorable quality. I looked into her eyes and wondered if she could see the part of me that had started to die. The trust. It was going. Fast. I still wasn't ready to blow it all up. Not yet. I needed one more thing. Proof that would shut down every excuse before she could even open her mouth. But the worst part? I still wanted to be wrong. It's one thing to catch someone red-handed. It's another thing entirely to watch them try and rearrange reality around you, to bend your mind until you don't know which way is up anymore. That's what gaslighting is. And let me tell you, Claire was a master. I didn't come in swinging. I needed to see how she'd react. So I laid a small trap, nothing too dramatic, just dropped a mention of the condo. Said I'd driven past it after lunch and noticed some activity inside. Said it reminded me of the work I'd done with Mark. She barely blinked. "Oh yeah," she said. "He sold that place, didn't he?" Just like that. Easy. Smooth. "No idea," I replied, watching her closely. She shrugged, sipped her tea, and started talking about some new yoga studio she was thinking of trying. Like the mention of the condo hadn't even registered. The next evening, I brought out the sonogram. I waited until Jamie was in bed, then sat her down at the kitchen table. I slid it across the wood, watched her eyes scan it. First, her face went pale. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh my God," she said. "You found that?" "I did." She picked it up, held it like it was some kind of joke. "That's my niece's," she said. "She mailed it to me as part of a baby shower invite thing. It was supposed to be a surprise, but I guess you ruined it." I didn't say anything, just let the silence thicken. She added, "I was going to show you eventually. I thought it was sweet." "You didn't mention she was pregnant," I said. "She asked me not to." Then the part that nearly broke me. The vasectomy, you know they can reverse themselves, right? Sometimes it happens. Spontaneously. She looked at me like she was genuinely concerned for my well-being. Like I was the one who'd forgotten something basic about my own body. Like I was unraveling. I'd had that procedure done 5 years ago. 2 follow-up tests confirmed it took. The doctor said it was airtight. "Are you saying it reversed itself?" "I'm saying it's possible." I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I stood up. "I'm going for a walk." She just nodded like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her expression. Composed, calm, patient. Like she was waiting for me to come back to my senses and apologize for asking questions. This was no longer about betrayal. It was about control. She'd been feeding me half-truths for years. Maybe more. It wasn't just the affair. It was the gentle, insidious erosion of my confidence. The way she turned doubt into delusion, logic into paranoia. Every confrontation became an exercise in confusion. I confronted her again 2 days later, this time with the texts from the burner phone. I read some of them aloud. She squinted, tilted her head. "That phone's not mine," she said. "Claire. Seriously, I don't even know where that came from. Could be Jamie's. Kids play with all kinds of stuff these days. It was in your lockbox." The one you opened without asking? There it was. The shift. The offense. She turned it around so fast. I nearly forgot why I was angry in the first place. You violated my privacy, she said. You went looking for something, and now you're trying to spin a story out of scraps. Scraps. That's what she called 47 messages, 4 hotel keycards and a sonogram. I started to walk away, but she caught my arm. Are you okay? She asked, voice soft, eyes wide. Because I'm starting to worry about you. That's when I knew I had to find something stronger, something undeniable. And as fate would have it, it came from the person I least expected. Jamie, there's a pain that hits deeper than betrayal. It's not the shock of a lie or the sting of a broken vow. It's looking into your child's eyes and realizing they've been carrying a secret because they were trying to protect you. It happened on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Claire was working late again, or so she said. Jamie had a dentist appointment, and I picked him up early from school. We stopped for burgers on the way home, his favorite spot. We didn't talk much at first. Just the usual stuff, grades, soccer practice, what weird video game his friends were obsessed with that week. But something was off. He kept glancing out the window like he was watching for someone. Like he wanted to say something but didn't know how. Back at home, he disappeared into his room while I sorted through mail at the kitchen counter. After a few minutes, I noticed the silence. No music. No video game sounds. Just stillness. I knocked gently. You okay, bud? His voice was soft. Yeah. You can come in. He was sitting on his bed, legs crossed, sketchbook open in his lap. Jamie's always been artistic. Claire says he got it from her side. But I've got doodles from high school that would say otherwise. I sat beside him. He didn't look at me. I draw when I'm stressed, he said. Miss Thompson says it helps kids talk when they can't say stuff out loud. Then he handed me the sketchbook. I'll never forget what I saw. Page after page of drawings. Some rough, some detailed. All of them scenes I recognized, but with one unfamiliar face. Claire. And Uncle Mark. The soccer games. At the park. At our front door. One had them kissing behind a tree. Another showed them holding hands in a parking lot. The backgrounds were clear enough that I could place the settings, dates too. Jamie always labeled the corners with the day. 2 years' worth of observations. I thought maybe it was just a hug, he whispered. But then it kept happening. Couldn't breathe. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He bit his lip. His hands were trembling. She said you'd get sick again, he said. She told me last time you were in the hospital was because of stress. She said if I told you anything, you might go back. My chest felt like it was caving in. I pulled him into me and just held him. He was shaking, crying quietly into my shoulder. And I did too. For the months I spent in the dark. For the burden my son had been carrying alone. For the innocence that Claire had chipped away at, piece by piece. I tucked him in early that night and told him, you never have to lie to protect me again. Ever. That's not your job. He nodded but didn't say anything. Just held onto my hand until he fell asleep. I sat in the living room afterward. Lights off, TV silent. The sketchbook lay beside me on the couch, and I flipped through it again. This wasn't just evidence. It was a map. Told me where, when, how often. It showed me just how far back this had been happening, and how careful she thought she'd been. She never expected Jamie to notice, or remember, or draw, but he did. And now so would I. The reckoning was coming. I just needed to wait for the right moment. I used to think confrontation was a moment, a flash of anger, a shout, a slammed door. But when it came to Claire, it had to be something else. Something colder, sharper. I wasn't just confronting betrayal. I was dismantling a lie she'd been living inside for years. So I waited. I watched the patterns, tracked her movements. I played the part, dutiful husband, patient father, oblivious man. And all the while I was laying the groundwork. The day it happened, the skies were clear. A Friday. Claire came home from her spa weekend glowing, tote bag over one shoulder, hair curled just so. Jamie was at a friend's house. I was sitting on the porch when she pulled in, sipping lemonade like nothing in the world had changed. She walked up the steps and kissed my cheek. "You look relaxed," she said. "I am," I replied. Inside, she dropped her bag, started talking about massages and eucalyptus steam rooms, like we were two people in love sharing everyday stories. But her voice trailed off the moment I handed her the envelope. She didn't open it at first. "What's this?" "Just a few things," I said. "Thought we should clear the air." She slid out the contents one by one. A printed screenshot. Mark's text to his wife, confessing the affair. The paternity test request, folded neatly. And finally, a single silver key. "What is this?" she whispered, holding the key up. "That," I said, standing slowly, "is the key to a condo I just bought. In another state." Her face changed then. Something between confusion and fear. "Wait, what?" "You have 2 hours," I said. "Pack for you and the baby." She looked like she'd been slapped. "You think it's his?" "I know it's not mine," I said, steady as stone. She reached for some excuse, some angle to work, but I held up a hand. "No more. You said you hated keeping secrets. But you built an entire second life on them. And now you're going to live with the consequences." She laughed, a hollow, desperate sound. "You don't get to just kick me out." "I do. The condo's in your name now. Everything's legal. The utilities are on, the fridge is stocked. You'll have everything you need for you and the child." She was silent, just standing there with the key in her hand like it was some cursed object. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't call her names. I just stared at her like I was seeing her for the first time. She asked where Jamie was. "Not here," I said. "And he won't be until you're gone." She didn't argue after that. Just went upstairs, came down an hour later with 2 bags, eyes red but dry. When the door shut behind her, I locked it. Not out of spite. Out of survival. That night, Jamie came home. I told him enough to help him understand. That I'd made sure he'd be safe. That we were going to be okay. That he didn't have to draw secrets anymore. He nodded, and we sat in the backyard and watched the stars come out. For the first time in months, I could breathe. The truth was ugly. But it was mine now. Claire was gone. Mark's wife? She took him for everything. The contractor with the charming smile and hidden texts? He didn't see it coming. From what I hear, he's living in a motel now. Fitting. But just when I thought the dust had settled. She came back. 8 months. That's how long it had been since Claire walked out of our lives with a packed suitcase and a future I no longer had to bankroll. 8 months of silence. Of lawyers. Of co-parenting schedules negotiated through emails. Of Jamie going to therapy twice a week, drawing again, sleeping better. 8 months of peace. Then she showed up. I had just finished my shift and was heading back to my truck when I saw her standing in the parking lot of my office building. At first, I didn't recognize her, not because she looked different, but because I never expected to see her there again. She was holding something in her arms. Someone. A baby. She stepped forward slowly, eyes wide, like she was walking across ice. The sun was setting behind her, casting this weird golden glow around her face. If I hadn't known better, I might have thought it looked poetic. But nothing about this was poetry. "Hey," she said. Just that. I didn't answer. My eyes were locked on the infant. Small, bundled, sleeping soundly. Her cheeks were plump and a tiny hand peeked from under the blanket. "You need something?" I asked, keeping my voice level. She looked nervous, but not embarrassed. She'd always had that way of walking into a fire like she'd started it on purpose. "She's yours," Claire said. My stomach dropped. "What?" "The baby," she said, voice soft. "She's yours." I didn't move. Didn't blink. "You're lying," I said. "You already lied." "I got tested," she said quickly. "Paternity test. DNA. I can show you." I stood there, arms crossed, pulse hammering in my ears. "She looks like you," Claire added. "Same eyes. Same ears." She stepped closer, pulling the blanket back just enough to show me the baby's face. And I'll be honest, there was something there. A shadow of a resemblance. That deep-set look around the eyes. The nose. I felt the old doubt creep in, the kind she used to plant in me like seeds. But I changed. "I'm going to need proof," I said. "I brought it," she said, digging into her bag and handing me a folder. Inside was a printed paternity test. Lab name. Signature. My name next to hers, next to the baby's. I scanned every line. Looked for signs of a fake. Checked the date. Checked the ID codes. It all looked legitimate. "Why now?" I asked. "Why show up here?" "Because she deserves to know you," Claire said. "And you deserve to know her." I looked at her again, really looked. She was thinner. Paler. Her eyes had the glassy sheen of someone constantly teetering between hope and desperation. "This doesn't change what you did," I said. "I know. It doesn't make us a family." "I'm not asking for that," she replied. "Just a chance. For her." I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I told her to leave. I told her I'd think about it. She handed me a slip of paper with her new number, then walked away with the baby still sleeping in her arms. I sat in my truck for over an hour after that, staring at the test. It could be real. It could be a perfect lie. And the worst part? A part of me wanted it to be true. Not because I miss Claire, but because I missed the idea of what we used to be before it all fell apart. That baby, she could be mine. But after everything, I knew better than to trust a feeling. The truth would come one way or another. And I wasn't about to get played twice. You ever stand at the edge of something and feel like no matter what direction you choose, you're going to lose something? That's where I was. Holding a folder with my name printed next to a child's and wondering if the ink was as real as the consequences. I didn't call Claire. Not right away. I called the lab instead. Had to jump through hoops, answer security questions, pretend I was requesting a duplicate for legal reasons. The woman on the phone was polite, said she'd mail a certified copy directly to my address. I hung up and stared at the ceiling for what felt like an hour. When it came a week later, I tore it open like it held a verdict. It was real. 100% probability of paternity. Claire hadn't lied. Not this time. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know how to feel. Part of me wanted to drive straight to her door and scream. Another part of me wanted to sit on the curb and cry. But mostly, I felt numb. Like my body had run out of emotion and was just running on fumes. So I did the only thing I could do. I asked Jamie. Not directly. I didn't tell him anything at first. I just brought up babies. Asked how he'd feel if one was around. He looked up from his cereal and shrugged. Like a cousin? No, I said. Like a sister. He blinked. Spoon halfway to his mouth. He didn't ask how. He didn't ask why. Just set the spoon down. Is it hers? He asked quietly. I nodded. He thought for a long moment. I'd want to meet her, he said. But only if I don't have to see her. That right there? That's what broke me. The way he said her, like Claire wasn't even a person anymore. Just a scar he was trying to heal around. I told him that might be possible. That I was figuring it out. That he wouldn't be forced into anything. Later that night, I called Claire. Told her I'd seen the results. That I believed her. She cried. Can we talk? She asked. Not in person. We met over video chat the next day. She held the baby, her name was Emery. She was beautiful, alert, drooling, trying to chew on a plush giraffe. Claire didn't speak for a while. Just watch me watching Emery. She's a good baby, she finally said. Sleeps through most nights now. I nodded. I didn't mean for it to happen, Claire continued. With Mark. With all of it. I was lost. I cut her off. You weren't lost. You were reckless. There's a difference. She didn't argue. I'll help, I said. But it doesn't mean I forgive you. It means I won't let that little girl grow up thinking she wasn't wanted. Her eyes welled up. That's all I ask. It wasn't. And we both knew it. But it's all I could give. We arranged supervised visits, me with Emery, without Claire. Her sister agreed to help facilitate. Jamie didn't want to come at first, so I didn't push. The first time I held Emery, she curled against my chest like she belonged there. And maybe she did. But that didn't make Claire family again. That didn't fix what she'd broken. Later, I asked her one last question. Why me? Why keep my fingerprint in the lockbox? She looked away. Because deep down, I always thought you'd find it. And part of me wanted you to. There's nothing more dangerous than someone who wounds you and calls it love. I said goodbye. Not forever, but long enough to keep my walls up. Claire could live in the mess she made. I'd be over here, raising my son and learning how to be a father again to a little girl I never saw coming. There's this moment after a storm when the wind dies down and the sky doesn't quite know if it wants to stay gray or clear up. That's where I live now. In that space between what was and what might be. Not broken, but definitely not whole. Jamie and I found our rhythm again. It wasn't easy. Some days he's quiet. Withdrawn. Other days he draws until his fingers cramp, sketches of Emery now. She shows up in his pictures, small and smiling, always surrounded by light. No Claire. Never Claire. He asked to meet her eventually. I didn't pressure it. Just told him when he was ready we'd figure it out. The first time they met he didn't say much. Just sat next to me on the park bench while Emery played on a blanket in the grass. She reached out and grabbed his finger. He looked at me and said, she's got a strong grip. That's all. But it meant everything. We see her every other weekend now. Claire drops her off with her sister, no contact beyond logistics. That's how I want it. How Jamie wants it. Emery's too young to understand any of it, and I'm not in a rush to explain. All she knows is that the man with the scruffy beard makes the best funny faces and always brings blueberries. At work, I keep my head down. No drama, no distractions. I go home to a house that's quieter, simpler. Some nights, I sit in the living room with one of Jamie's sketches in hand and Emery asleep on my chest, and I wonder how things got here. Then I remember they didn't get here. They were dragged here. One lie at a time. People ask if I've forgiven Claire. Truth is, I don't think forgiveness is a destination. It's a road. And some days I'm walking it. Other days I'm parked on the shoulder, staring into the distance. But I'm trying. For Jamie. For Emery. For myself. You don't survive something like that and come out the same. I'm not the man who walked into Claire's closet looking for a lost cat. That guy was trusting. Naive. Soft in all the wrong places. Yeah? I see the world differently. I know love can lie. I know smiles can hide knives. And I know that sometimes the people you'd take a bullet for are the ones holding the gun. But I also know healing isn't about forgetting. It's about remembering without bleeding. Jamie's laughing more these days. Emery's taking her first steps. And me? I'm just here, standing in the quiet after the storm, trying to build something true out of the wreckage. Something better. Something real.